again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an episode of Chicago Bulls Weekly to provide for you guys as we look at the previous week for the Chicago Bulls, give those awards out that we normally give. You should already know those by now, but we will go through them at a later time, as well as discuss the upcoming week for the Chicago Bulls. With 8 games left of our season remaining, we don't really know how many of these episodes we're going to have to come. Obviously, we'll be doing them in the playoffs and whatnot, but after that, it looks like it's going to be the end of a very good, very long, dedicated series on this channel. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below how well did you think we did in this previous week, and also your predictions for the upcoming week. Where do you think the Chicago Bulls will go in terms of their record? And of course, if you'd like to get further in detail and tell me who you think would beat and who would lose to, feel free to let me know in the comments below for that one as well. So we had 4 games to look forward to in the previous week, ladies and gentlemen. I challenged the Chicago Bulls team to go 3-1 this week. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get there, and I really thought we had a chance to do so, but it just wasn't meant to be. But we did go a respectable 2-2. Now, again, there's wasted opportunities there, but most importantly, we beat two very good teams that are in competition to try and climb us in terms of the Eastern Conference standings, which is very important for a variety of reasons, and we'll get into them with the individual scores. So let's first kick off with that Toronto Raptors game where we won this game 113-99. This was the first game where we saw Billy Donovan really make a change in the guard system. This was the game I believe we saw Alex Caruso start for the Chicago Bulls. We saw Ayo Dosunmu come off of the bench. So with that being said, very positive signs that, again, the coaching staff are looking for answers. They're trying to find adjustments that will be necessary to verse certain amounts of teams. In this game, the defense was very, very good. We held them to 99 points. Very, very good. Offensively, we still had a little bit of work to do. It wasn't our best offensive performance, but technically, it was the best out of this week. So I guess you got a little bit of a positivity within that game. This was the game that, again, Toronto had been struggling as well, and I believe they didn't have Gary Trent in this game, so that's a very big loss for them. But we did what we were supposed to do. We capitalized on the Toronto Raptors. We got the tiebreaker over them. We've won the season series over them. And most importantly, we tried to hold them back a little bit to try and overtake us. We have a very hard schedule coming up, so a win like this against Toronto could be very crucial towards where we will finish in terms of the Eastern Conference. We moved to the Milwaukee Bucks game, ladies and gentlemen, and we had an awful night here where we lost this game 126-98. I believe this was the game where I didn't really have anything to say on the situation. I was very tired and frustrated about the Chicago Bulls in this game. I've got to be honest, I don't remember too much about this game whatsoever. I know that's a bad thing to say because it's recently just happened, but these are the type of games that you just want to quickly forget about. We got blown out once again. It was the most humiliating loss between the Bucks and the Bulls that we've had. Usually the games were close and competitive. They just simply took the reins and they made their dominance felt within this series. And again, we got one more game that we're going to have to verse against them within the next 2 weeks. So hopefully the Chicago Bulls can deliver on that. But at the end of the day, this is definitely not a loss that you want on your conscience. But speaking of a loss you don't want on your conscience, the next game against the New Orleans Pelicans, we lost this game, 126-109. This game was relatively close and competitive throughout the whole time, really. But the fourth quarter, New Orleans just simply ran away with it, and the Bulls had no answer. This was the game where we didn't have DeMar DeRozan in the lineup either, which is very frustrating. But at the end of the day, this is, in my opinion, the most wasted opportunity of the week. This is a game where I feel like even with DeMar DeRozan out, we had a great opportunity to win, but our defense is simply not up to the caliber that we expect it to be, which is the reason why we lost this game against the Pelicans. It's frustrating. At the end of the day, they're fighting for a play-in tournament spot, and we're trying to avoid a play-in tournament spot. So both teams had a lot to fight for, and I guess in their home court, with everything on the line, they ended up securing their win, and we ended up walking away with that wasted opportunity. If the roles were reversed, maybe the Pelicans fans would feel like this is also a wasted opportunity, considering they didn't have Brandon Ingram, but we didn't have DeMar DeRozan. So again, it's a loss I don't really want to talk about too much into. We move into the next game against Cleveland. We won this game 98-94. Very good win for the Chicago Bulls. An outstanding first half performance, followed by a very poor second half performance. But in the end, the most important thing against Cleveland is to win that game because both teams have been struggling. Get the tiebreaker over Cleveland, which means we've won the season series over Cleveland. And again, hopefully we can just slow them down a little bit so they don't end up coming for our spot in the Eastern Conference. With that being said, we're going to move into the awards, ladies and gentlemen. We usually give out 3 awards. The must improve of the week, which goes to the worst player this week that needs to step up in the next week. The 6th man of the week for the Chicago Bulls, which is the best bench player. We always try to give the respect to the bench guys here. And the player of the week, which is the ultimate player of the week that really stood out for the Chicago Bulls. And it's very simple here for all 3 of them, in my opinion. Starting off with the must improve, it's going to be Coby White. Now, outside of the New Orleans Pelicans game, we had 23 points and 6 assists, I believe. Absolutely phenomenal game from Coby White. Outside of that game, he has been struggling for the Chicago Bulls this week. The Toronto Raptors game, I believe he had 2 points. I think Milwaukee, he had 5 points. And then obviously against Cleveland, he had 0 points. So that's not what you want to see out of your bench scorer. Again, we need a lot from this bench if we're going to succeed, because we can't have all the burden on DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. It's simply not going to work if you're trying to achieve a winning season and try to pick up some very important wins against teams that we need to beat. So Coby White next week absolutely needs to have a much better week. It needs to be efficient and it needs to be a high number of scoring. We need to see an aggressive Coby White. We need to see more people take responsibility on the offensive end. And I feel like the bench leader in terms of scoring is Coby White. He has to deliver more than what he's doing, and this week is a prime example of that. We went 2-2, but if Coby White really had better scoring, would we see better from him? Would we see better from this week? Would we win maybe one of these games that we lost? It's one of those questions we'll never know the answer to, obviously, but it is something to look into. Maybe we probably won't, because we did get blown out a lot this week, but it could definitely have been a different story if Coby White maybe had a little bit more of a step up than what he did. The 6th man of the week for me, ladies and gentlemen, look, we had a lot of, I guess, different guys playing off of the bench and starting. I think Io started a game this week. Obviously, Alex Caruso, the normal guy you probably give this award to, he started all of this week as well. And I think the only consistent player that really shined through for the Chicago Bulls was Tristan Thompson at the center position. He had his consistent performances of 5 points and 4 rebounds with good defense and good aggression. He did get ejected from one of the games, but at the end of the day, it's really between him and Patrick Williams. And I liked Patrick Williams' performances, but again, he's been relatively inconsistent as well, and it's his first week back, so I don't want to really give him an award for that first week back, but I also don't want to, I guess, be negative towards his first week back as well. So I'm going to go with the safer option in this one and pick Tristan Thompson, who's been relatively consistent throughout the whole time. Do I think we can see better from Tristan Thompson? Yes. Do I think the Bulls need to learn how to play with Tristan Thompson? Yes. I feel like Tristan Thompson really only gets opportunities when he's the one creating them. I don't feel like anybody really creates for him. He has to be the one that when he gets the ball, he runs into the paint, he goes into the post, he dribbles, and then he takes a post hook. No one really sets him up off of the pick and roll like they do with Vucevic. So I'd like to see that change, but obviously you can't fix every problem overnight. He has been consistent in the role he's been asked to play in, which is why he's my 6th man of the week. And my player of the week, it could go to 2 people in this situation. You got obviously Alex Caruso for his defensive displays and Zach LaVine. For me, it's going to be Zach LaVine. I thought Zach LaVine, in the end, in a week where DeMar DeRozan has struggled and missed some games, Zach LaVine has really been the guy to try and help and contribute a little bit more than what DeMar DeRozan has done. This has been Zach LaVine's week. We went 2-2. Games against Toronto, DeMar had a great game. Games against the Pelicans, DeMar didn't play, so Zach had to drop 40. Zach played decently against the Milwaukee Bucks in a blowout loss. And obviously, Zach LaVine got a 25-point performance against Cleveland. It's not all about points, ladies and gentlemen, but again, we do need more scorers on this team outside of DeMar DeRozan. So Zach LaVine having nights where he's dropping 20 to 25 to 30 points and 40 points in this week, is outstanding in my opinion, because again, it can't all be on DeMar DeRozan. The reason why DeMar DeRozan is struggling so much is because they're prioritizing defenses on him, so he can't take the shots that he normally takes, and also there's not enough people that are willing to help out on the offensive end on an efficient and consistent basis. Some guys might be able to do it on given nights. Again, Kobe White with his 23 points against the Pelicans. Granted, DeMar didn't play that game, but obviously it's not consistent enough. Even Vucevic, who's had a fairly decent week in my opinion, has not been consistent enough. So we need Zach LaVine to step up alongside with DeMar DeRozan. I think both of them have massive responsibilities on this team, and for order for us to win games, they need to step up in all areas. It has to be from scoring, facilitating, defensively, everything of that nature. It's just the way that it is. If we're going to see the best version of the Chicago Bulls, unfortunately, we're not going to get our starting point guard back until the playoffs most likely, and even then, that's going to be a bit of a stretch. So we have to rely on guys like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan to be the leaders and scorers on this team, while hopefully we have few and far between other guys that can pitch in on the offensive end. The leadership has to come from DeMar and Zach, and I feel like that's where we're going to get the most of our success. That doesn't mean isolation. That doesn't mean a one pick and roll shooting. It means that they have to be the guys to not only take control of the offense at times, but try to look for other guys as well, because I feel like other guys are not pulling their weight on this team either. But with that being said, we've got a couple of winnable games looking forward to, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we have 4 games in terms of this point in time to look forward to, and obviously the other 4 will be the last 4 that we have to look forward to until the end of the season. So with the first game, it's going to be against the New York Knicks away from home. A very difficult game, ladies and gentlemen, not necessarily because the New York Knicks have a great record and in the playoff contention. It's far from that, to be honest. But they always seem to bring their best against the Chicago Bulls. I've seen the Knicks play a lot differently compared to the Bulls, compared to what I've seen from them over a number of games. We have had games success over them. We have more wins compared to them this season, but they have an opportunity to tie their season series against us at 2 apiece. We can't let that happen. Treat it as a rivalry game. Treat it however you want. The most important thing for this Bulls team is to walk out with a very, very good victory, to try and one-up themselves from Cleveland, and to also continue the winning ways of our season, because we're in dire strengths now, ladies and gentlemen. We are 1 or 2 games from falling into the play-in tournament, so every win counts for every single team now that's trying to compete for a playoff spot. So this is a must-win game for the Chicago Bulls. New York might have something to play for, but maybe they don't have anything to play for. So you've got to take advantage of the New York Knicks while they're down and out, and you've got to take care of your business against these types of teams. But then you got that back-to-back against the Washington Wizards away from home. 2 away games, ladies and gentlemen, very frustrating to see. And I guess the rest of the games outside of the Timberwolves will be at home, so you get to have a little bit of that home court advantage that we're going to need in the playoffs. Let's be honest, the crowd definitely is a difference maker. But again, we've seen very difficult games against Washington before as well. Kyle Kuzma stands to mind for me, the guy that's been really dominating the Chicago Bulls. But at the end of the day, it's a different Washington Wizards team from what we've seen. Obviously, they've made some trades to kind of help and boost their season as well. So definitely not an easy game against Washington. Obviously, we've had a very good highlight play with that buzzer beater against the Washington Wizards. But the reality is, we have to focus on what's put in front of us now and not reflect on the past. We need to beat Washington at this point in the season with their current team that they have under their belts, and that's going to reflect well on our season if we are able to do that. Then we've got a game at home against the Los Angeles Clippers. The final game between the Los Angeles teams and the Chicago Bulls will be arranged here at the United Center. I do believe Paul George is cleared to practice. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be playing this game against the Chicago Bulls, but if he does, that obviously brings a bigger threat to the table with a great two-way player, in my opinion, coming back for the Los Angeles Clippers. They're playing well already, in my opinion. They have their ups and downs like every other team, but for the most part, they've been playing very, very well. So it's another game to look out for, another game to be worried about, but also we have beat the Clippers before, and we were not at our best when we beat the Clippers before with Vucevic out of the lineup. So we have Vucevic back now, obviously, but at the end of the day, this is definitely a type of game where I feel like the Chicago Bulls do have an opportunity to walk away with the win. And then the final game being a rivalry game in its entirety, maybe even not for Miami Heat fans, but definitely for the Bulls, it's going to be a game against the Miami Heat at home. The last meeting between the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls, Miami has already won their season series. They're 3-0 against the Bulls. Miami have been struggling recently. Many people are putting a number of things on it, whether they're tanking, whether the argument between the coaching staff and Jimmy Butler and all the rest of their team is playing a big, weighting factor on how they're playing. We don't really have enough time to really discuss what the Miami Heat are going through at the moment. We can't focus on what they're going through. We can't really find answers for what they're going through. The future will only determine how bad the situation is with the Miami Heat. Or maybe they are just trying to avoid Brooklyn in the playoffs. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, we need to focus on trying to get a win over them as well. Because at the end of the day, if a struggling team is coming to the United Center, we have to implement our force and our dominance over them. You can't have a team that's struggling to win come into the United Center and embarrass us like they've embarrassed us the last 2 times. We have an opportunity here to take away a win. I fully expect the Chicago Bulls to give absolutely everything. If they win on a blowout, great. If they win by a small margin, great. As long as there is a win there for the Chicago Bulls, not only against a team that we haven't beaten before, a team in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference, an elite team in my opinion, and again, that belief that I've been talking about the whole time, it only starts with one win. And that win could be the Miami Heat. It could be the Bucks. It could be Boston. I don't really know. But it's definitely a win that we need to obtain sooner than later. So hopefully it comes with the Miami Heat. That's it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. If you watch every week, I'll see you next week. We will have more Bulls Weekly. Next week won't be the final one, but at the end of the day, it's getting down the end, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the final stretches of our season. Granted, it's going to go beyond the regular season, which is a very positive sign, and we'll see what the Bulls can make out of the situation. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.